I was born in Liverpool, down by the docks. My religion was dodgy, occupation hard knocks. At stealing from lorries, I was adept, and under old overcoats, each night we slept in my Liverpool home. In my Liverpool home, we speak with an accent exceedingly rare. Meet under a statue exceedingly fair. And if you want a cathedral, we've got one to spare in my Liverpool home. When I grew up, I met Bridget McCann. She says you're not much where I'm needing a man, 'cause I want 15 kids and a house out in street. The spirit was willing, but the shit was weak in my Liverpool home. In my Liverpool home, we speak with an accent exceedingly rare. Meet under a statue exceedingly fair. And if you want a cathedral, we've got one to spare in my Liverpool home.
In a co-op, houses are in the collective ownership of the members, and the members are the residents themselves. Jeff Sands tells how it happened here.
This is the story of how Corn Street and Yates Street are being modernised, and of how the residents formed a housing co-op. These two terraces shouldn't really be here at all. All the rest of the old terraces around here have been redeveloped. Like those 3 streets over there that were basically in sound condition but in a poor state of repair, were bought up by the corporation 5 years ago and demolished, and the community broken up. The houses were in a reasonably sound state and identical in fact to these in Corn Street and Yates Street. But slum clearance is an expensive business these days. If the houses are structurally okay, it's cheaper to modernise. And people prefer to move out for a couple of months and come back to a modern house rather than move out permanently to an overspill estate. Until last year, all these houses were owned by one private landlord and very few repairs were being done. Fortunately, there was already a strong cooperative movement in Liverpool 8. They bought out the landlord, got government money for improvements, and the residents formed a housing co-op and to all intents and purposes became their own landlords. We've arranged to look around one of the houses before improvements, so I just hope she's in. Hi, Laura.
Hello, Jeff.
Can we come in and have a look around?
Yes, certainly.
Thanks. What's the worst problems you've got with the state of the house?
Well, the worst problem is the back bedroom, the damp on the ceiling.
Okay.
Would you like to come up and have a look at it?
Yeah. I can see it from here.
Yes, it is that.
Is it still leaking?
Yes. Well, we have a lot of heavy rain,
Yeah. Well, we could patch it. I mean, it really needs a new roof.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we'll just have to try and patch it and put a bit of plaster up there for you.
Yes. I see. Now I'd like you to come and have a look at the middle bedroom.
Yeah.
We've got rather a bad gap between the wall and the window.
Okay. It's pretty loose.
Yes.
It's a bit rotten. It needs a new frame. Again, we can patch it, but you'll have to wait for improvements and get a complete new frames through the house, really.
I see. Would you like to come down and have a look at the kitchen?
Sure. Yeah, you see these narrow stairs at the top here are quite dangerous.
Yeah.
You'll be getting a new staircase and one that's not quite as
Well,
steep.
they have been dangerous for years.
Yeah. Well, you've got it quite nice, but I suppose the wallpaper hides quite a lot of damp and so on. There's quite a few kitchens worse than this.
And there certainly are, particularly some kitchens in houses occupied by the very elderly. Bad plaster is pretty common, and some houses have very large cracks indeed. Some of the floors are riddled with woodworm and need extensive treatment, and many windows have had to be replaced due to rot. All the houses have outside WCs situated in the corner of the backyard. And taking a bath was quite a major operation.
The co-op owns the houses collectively, and members just pay £1 each for a share, which entitles them to a vote at meetings. Now, let's have a word with some of the people actually involved. Do you think the co-op idea is working out all right?
Oh, yes.
This landlord wouldn't do a thing for us. Not a thing here. Yeah, I've lived in this house 70-odd years. So, I mean, there's never been empty, so I don't know what it'll do when I go up the street.
They're about 100 years old. And I'm sure if these can do them, we didn't think they would be. And if these could be, there's plenty. It's not as old as these. They're in a, you know, dilapidated state. And, I mean, they'd save all the knocking down, wouldn't it?
It's very, very marvellous what they've done. Because
Right.
they've pulled them inside and out, as you can see.
Oh, yes.
Everything's come out.
Yeah.
Brick walls and everything. And it's coming from right up from the bottom, aren't they? Waking right up. And everything's brand new in them.
Well, I've got every convenience now, instead of climbing upstairs to go to bed, all on the level. There's another thing, I can have a bath.
Oh, bathroom, yes. I mean, going down in the winter, it's very bad going down the toilet in the winter. And you can soak in your own bath. You don't have to go and borrow somebody else's bath.
Quite satisfied with all the decorations. From the kitchen, sitting room, bedrooms, bathroom, and the inside toilet. I never thought to see these houses converted as the way they are now, never.
These are the offices of the Neighbourhood Housing Services, a major housing association which provides services to co-ops in Liverpool, for which Jeff works. Jeff explains how it all began.
Well, in the early days, we held several general meetings with all the residents to explain how a co-op works, how you pay £1 for a voting share, how you can apply to the Housing Corporation for money to buy the houses from the landlord, and what grants you can apply for, and so on. We offered them the services of Tom and Jackie here, our architects. They could, of course, have employed their own professionals direct if they'd so wished.
The houses in these two streets all have at the moment 3 bedrooms and, of course, no bathroom. So one of the first things that the families had to decide, depending on whether they had granny living with them or the number of children, was whether they should keep the 3 bedrooms and have a bathroom extension built on the back, which meant they ended up with a very small yard, or whether to have the bathroom in the back bedroom and leaving only 2 bedrooms, but of course leaving a larger yard. And as you can see from the chart over there, about half the families opted for the 3-bedroom solution with the extension, and the other half for the 2-bedroom solution with the bathroom in the rear bedroom.
Thanks, Tom. Some members decided to do just one straight move, like Tom and Belle Skelton here, who are moving from the end of the terrace down towards the middle. And other members decide to go back to their old house once it's improved. And when that happens, we use the vacant houses. They move into them for, say, a couple of months while the builders are at work on their old house. So one of Tom's more important jobs is to agree a removals programme with the co-op and with the builders.
One of the first things that we had to do was the immediate repairs to the roofs. This was asked by the tenants at a very early meeting of the cooperative. We engaged Bert the plumber to carry out this work. He's now a full-time member of the staff. Since then, the works have progressed and we now have 13 units on site. We have 1 unit completed each week, and up to now we have 10 units completed.
All this building work, moving families in and out, and a lot more besides, is directed by the Tenants Committee, which is elected by the co-op and which does an enormous amount of unpaid voluntary work.
We're now at a meeting of the Co-op Committee, which meets regularly once a week at the Memorial Hall just across the road from Corn Street. We're just about to start the meeting now.
Right, it's okay.
Can we have Mr. Tom Clay's report, please? Progress.
With regard to Corn Street, as you probably noticed, they've started on the bottom end of Corn Street from 2 to 12, and they've stripped the roofs and felted and battened the roofs. And we're pushing them on that because over the past few days I don't think progress has been as good as it should have been. Since the last meeting of the cooperative, numbers 6 and 16 Corn Street have been finished and tenants moved in. The Hayters have moved in from number 2 to number 6 Corn Street, and the Millers from number 10 to 16 Corn Street. That means that the contractors have started work on those 2 houses, and they've also started work on number 24, which is Mr. Shacklady's house.
Tom, number there, 24 Corn Street.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of a back boiler with a gas fire? 12 house with the immersion heater. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see, yes. Well, the Housing Corporation at the moment are trying to keep the costs down fairly strictly. There's another problem in relation to that sort of thing that I want to come on to next to, which affects Tommy Skelton's house.
Well, Mr. Chairman, number 17 Yates Street was brought up on the site meeting last Wednesday regarding the woodworm which was evident in the rear bedroom. But since then, it's now been established that this woodworm is fairly expensive. So Tom Clay, the architect, has decided that we will strip out all the floorboards in the rear bedroom and treat the joist and renew the floor in the back bedroom.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call on George Kelvick to report on the removals.
Well, recently we had Mr. Miller removed week last Sunday morning. This again was done on a voluntary basis with Harry, Tom, George and a number of other people. Basically the same crew that's gone on now throughout the programme, and we really would appreciate a little bit more support from other people. But
there's one thing I'd like to mention, Mr. Chairman, is I'd be delighted to one of the youth leaders of the Florence Institute Boys Club contacted myself the other day, and he said that a number of the boys had volunteered to assist, and if we required their assistance, I was to contact them or yourself. And he said he could muster about 20 boys, particularly over a weekend. And I know the committee would be pleased to take up that offer.
Right,
you know, because
we've got some applications for tenancy at the corner Yates Housing Cooperative. As you know, we've only got about 3 or 4 houses left in the cooperative.
Mr. Chairman, after reading this application, I do feel that these are suitable applicants, and maybe we could send an application form to them. They don't have any modern conveniences. For example, an inside toilet, a bathroom, hot water. And if we send an application form through to them, perhaps followed by a visit by 2 members of the cooperative committee.
Well, you've heard battles commence, ladies and gentlemen. Do you, as a committee, feel that we should send this couple an application form? Are you fully agreed on that we send this couple an application form?
Yeah.
Right. Well, Joan, will you send the application
Every week,
form out?
members of the committee, together with their technical officers or consultants, hold a site meeting and make an inspection of work in progress.
Well, as you can see, we're down to the interceptor, but as again, we're up against solid sandstone.
Yeah.
You know, due to us being right on the Mersey.
What's the drainage inspector say? Does he want you to go back to the main sewer in the alley, or is it all right making the connection to the...
Take out the interceptor.
Yeah.
Take out the interceptor and come straight.
Yeah, probably done this one. Again, solid sandstone, Tom.
Same problem all over again, isn't it? You've got the hammer on this one.
Yeah.
Is it working all right?
I have the new bits on it. Put the new bit on it to try it out a different way. It's got a bit of chisel on it. It's not going too bad. Once it gets out squared or it comes out.
It's a bit harder.
Really solid, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it will do. It's alright here, it's in layers.
Well, shall we try it out, see how it goes?
Yeah.
We've started on this one, haven't we, Pat? See the damper, of course, has started.
Are you looking forward to moving back into your new house?
That's my new house there. This one that's getting done now, next door but one. I'll be going back there when that's done. Well, if it's like this, I will be very pleased with it.
I know it's a lot of mess and from the first, you know, when it starts off, but then again, you just have to take things that comes along, take the good with the bad, don't you?
Are you satisfied with the way your house has been improved?
Well, up to now, very good, but this milk is getting on our nerves. I mean, we know they've got to pull down to build up again, haven't they? But just got to have it done, I suppose. Been 40-odd years here and never thought that it would ever get done. Promises, promises. They are beautiful, though.
You know, everything's working to rule at the moment, and I don't think it's a long time to have to wait. Well, we waste about 3 months, which isn't a long time, really. I mean, say other people, if they go into corporation houses, have to wait a darn sight longer than this.
Joan Holmes says she gets so many inquiries that at times she has to put a notice in a window to get a little rest. Work on modernising...
We've got again, because we loved our little room, you know.
One big thing is the fact that I can't reach an hanger in the wardrobes, but she can. So I left the clothes and she puts them on the hanger.
With one arm, you see. I use this with the right arm.
We're like 1 and 2 really. What she can do, I may be doing, what I can do, she'll do.
It's an asset to go upstairs and know that you're going to bed upstairs, no one to bother you. After 9 years, and you could see my 3 little bedrooms upstairs was lovely. I was quite thrilled. I'm very impressed by it. And I hope they'll do more for other people, the same as myself, and give them the help. I thank you and all and everybody else for what you have done in the past.
The elderly gentleman who lives here is very pleased with his modernised kitchen. This stone wall unit and fireplace was built by the occupants themselves, who have also done a large part of the decorations. This resident had a bathroom added as a back addition, with access through the kitchen. There are still 3 bedrooms upstairs. This modernised house, with 2 separate rooms downstairs, one used as a bedroom, suits this elderly widower very well. The lady who occupies this house has a grown-up son with musical interests. She also needs 2 separate living rooms. And here's another family who have done most of the decorations and many of the fittings themselves. They've given up the 3rd bedroom and made it into a spacious bathroom. Look at the widened and improved staircase and the sensible handrail provided by the co-op's architect. And the well-equipped kitchen. And again, the through living and dining room. Before modernisation, most tenants were paying on average £2.50 a week for rent and rates to the old landlord. Now they are paying around £7 a week for rent and rates to the co-op for an improved house which will certainly last 30 years or more.
Could other people do this if they wanted to?
Well, they could if they tried. I mean, say it takes some doing. As I say, you've got to organise yourselves in every way, and they've all got to pull together. Who's just one saying they'll go on the committee and one thing and another. But I think it's a big step forward in every way as regards doing these things. Well, according to this co-op, I mean, say we have a meeting every month, and everybody those on the committee do turn up. If those that are interested, really. But you'll find that some co-ops might not be as lucky as us.
How do you think the co-op committee is working?
Well, I think they need a pat on the back myself because we had all this property and it's all getting modernised, and the house I'm living in now, I said, it's perfect. I said, we've got a bathroom which we've never had before. I said, yeah, I'm just proud of the people that started it all.
An example of something of real value to the community, which arose directly from the tenants coming together to form the co-op, is the proposed treatment of this gap in Yates Street, which has been there since the war, and which at one time was a serious health risk. The committee have now approved these plans for rebuilding the 2 bombed houses as 4 small flats for elderly tenants. Work will start as soon as modernisation of the rest of the terraces is complete. The old problem of dust pollution from the flour mill has also been greatly improved following a direct approach from the co-op committee to the mill owners. Lorry parking is still causing trouble, but the subject is under discussion between the tenants and the mill. In the same way, the back alley is now being modernised as a result of the committee asking the Liverpool Council to declare the 2 terraces an improvement area. This has meant that government grant has been available for environmental improvements, as well as for the house improvements themselves. Street and Yates Street tenants have clearly demonstrated how old houses can be modernised and the environment improved by getting together and forming a housing co-op. So, to sum it all up in a few words, the co-op owns the houses collectively. Each tenant becomes a shareholder and member. He pays only £1 for a share and has no other capital outlay. The co-op elects its own committee to run its day-to-day affairs. Major matters are voted on at general meetings of all the members. On finance, a loan is raised from the Housing Corporation, and this is paid back partly by grants from the government and partly by the rents. Maximum rents are fixed by the government rent officer. This is the first celebration get-together by the members of the Corn and Yates Street Co-op. It marks the completion of the 10th house to be modernised. There are sure to be many more parties in the future. If you would like to know more about how to form a housing co-op, write to us at this address. The Cooperative Housing Agency, 180 Tottenham Court Road, London, W1P 9OE.
When the smoke and the dust had all cleared from the air, thank God, said the old man, the pier had still the Liverpool home. In my Liverpool we speak with an accent exceedingly rare. Meet under a statue exceedingly there. And if you want a cathedral, we've got one to spare. In my Liverpool